Is that
Uh,
the energy we're bringing to the table for this one?
I started this with, all right, Jacob, you want to get this over with? We can do it. You are on the last Twilight video from your cult boyfriend. This is the last one. So every
Allegedly.
no,
Until
it's the last.
Midnight Sun drops in theaters.
Okay, well, if that ever happens, then yes, we have to do Midnight Sun. But right now, if we have all of our Twilight thoughts must be said here. Which, by the way, I think I've said a lot about Twilight already. So,
Yeah, you've done bonus videos about new moon and eclipse.
yep. Um,
Because we said we're gonna skip eclipse, and then you said, well, hold on, there's something here.
yeah, there was kind of something there. It's still not the best. Um, oh, okay. So we're talking primarily about Breaking Dawn Part 2, and we're coming at you with yawning, hungover energy to talk about a pretty so all I wanted from the end of Twilight, honestly, was was Aro and Jane being fucking crazy. And by God, this movie gave me Michael Sheen at the craziest I've ever seen the guy. Probably the best thing I can say about the movie is that they just let Michael Sheen off his leash, and he chewed everything in sight, and I loved every minute of him on screen. Ridiculously cool villain again. Do you like this movie? What do you think of Breaking Dawn?
I don't know. Um,
Me, neither.
it's a weird movie. I think what gets me about this movie is that it it feels like Breaking Dawn Part One pretty much already, if not resolved all of the series long conflicts, at least indicated how they will resolve to such a degree that's like the way this movie plays out is like the only way it could have played out. No
Yeah.
other movie could have been made but this one because the conflicts are already resolved. It's just that not with like a proper finality because it was half a book, but like
Mm,
Bella's arc was resolved, Edward's resolved, like it was all done, but it was like missing that last scene to cohere it properly. So like this is like an epilogue movie basically, like a
really
2 hour
is.
epilogue. It's bizarre. So like there's no
There's
real antagonisms at play. There's no new stuff, new meat,
well,
new dirt.
we get we get an entire ensemble of new characters.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's weird.
the ones who I like the best that we meet. I don't know what their names. One, it was two of them,
I
and
don't know any of their names, but
one of them was from Shameless, but they looked like they were in, like the nihilists from fucking The Big Lebowski. Like they were like they were like two fucking like they were in like a German techno band or something.
oh, the guy that looks like a fucking Klaus Kinski.
Yes, my God, they were my favorite. They were
He remind
insane.
I recently watched Fitzcarraldo in theaters, so like the whole time I was thinking like that dude just looks like Klaus Kinski.
I think he's from I know him from Shameless at least in Castle Rock. Like he's got some acting chops to him, but here, oh my, just insane. We meet Joe Anderson from like Across the Universe and shit.
Yeah.
I don't know why we meet that guy because he just hangs out in a tree and then decides to leave. Don't know the point of him, but he's hot. He's always fun seeing.
It's
And
it's
then
it's weird because there's always been like a coherence to the characters across the series and that they all serve a very consistent purpose throughout the series. And I mean even like the most minor characters in the series have like a consistent purpose and presence. They play the same role in every movie. And this like throws all that out the window. It's weird. I was actually reading a pretty cool review by I think his name is Max Coombs about Twilight and how he really likes the high school characters like Bella's like friend
Yeah.
group, and I say friend group because she never really seems to like them. But
I
like
love
how
Anna Kendrick all throughout these movies.
well, like what he says in that is like that they're interesting because they all provide like solutions to problems that like protagonists in high school movies typically have. And so like for any other movie, like they would be the saving grace because they would like fulfill that missing something. But Bella has none of those problems because Bella
Exactly.
doesn't care about high school, and she's like, she's not unpopular, she's not, a bad student or anything. So like characters always serve like a purpose, but there's always like they're consistent, like they're always there. It's like a sitcom, they're always there, they never change. And then all of a sudden in this movie you get like a whole new cast of characters, all the old characters are thrown out. It's weird, it's
Mhm.
so bizarre. It's
Hey, I like Rami Malek though.
yeah, he's weird too. He's like that the whole movie. It's
Yeah, but he's really neurotic and jittery and cool, I
yeah,
guess. But like
you see
this
what I
movie
mean,
is
like
just
it's like
a
a
battle. But here's
yeah,
the
it's
thing: I didn't know the twist. I did not know the twist.
yeah, so this is what I've been building up to this. That like I think I mentioned in the first video or something. Like I was like, wait, do you not know the thing? And you're like, no, I don't know the
No, I
thing. I was
remember
like,
telling you I know Carlisle dies. I remember
yeah, and
telling you that.
I told you there's a little bit more to it than that, but I can't tell you because it would ruin it.
I had
Because I
no
knew
idea.
when you saw that it was going to shatter your fucking mind when you saw that.
It did. It blew
And
my fucking mind.
I also told you Alice was going to be more important than you think to the finale.
You should have seen my face when fucking no, Jasper got his head ripped off.
Yeah.
I lost my mind.
My favorite series, I didn't realize it till watching for this, that like I can't think of any sequence of shots in film history that brings me more pleasure than um Arrow holding Carlisle's head, cut to Esme going like and then it cuts to Edward going, and then it cuts to Arrow. He goes, and it's the funniest series of shots I've ever seen in a movie. It's so funny. Oh yeah, and
Oh,
Jasper dies. Some of the wolves die.
I had no
Um,
idea that that wasn't real. I had no
yeah,
idea that
yeah,
that wasn't happening.
it's like a fucking bloodbath. They do the JoJo thing. Like just everyone dies. Everyone
I
fucking
had
gets
no clue. My
dies.
mind was blown when it was all
Jane's
just
death is
a
metal.
vision.
Jane's death is fucking metal. Like this person that holds power over people is suddenly like powerless and she runs for her life, and they don't just kill her, they brutalize her. They take
Yes,
her, drag her to a bunch of wolves, and then the wolves eat her.
I, I love Jane is awesome, and she's throughout this whole movie. And then I noticed that Dakota Fanning has one word of dialogue, which is just pain. That's it. That's it.
Also, Edward kills Arrow with a wrestling move, a tag team Edward Bella wrestling move to kill Arrow.
I do
You
get that
notice that we're
thing.
not like talking about any of the ideas of the movie here
There
as we
really
normally
aren't
do with
too many.
like
There really
compared to the other Twilight movies, where it's like even Eclipse, there's plenty to talk about, like the gender dynamics,
Yeah.
the weird like sexual politics. This I'm like, it's just a Western basically. Like they get the gang
No, yeah.
together, they do the job.
Yeah,
There's
it's a showdown. Yeah.
there's not much more to it because it's the last chapter of a movie that was otherwise just part one. Part one had all the meat. Then
I did have to have a little laugh at the one death you set me up for, like Ro's like a right hand man who's like
yeah,
killed by I think the two German dudes I was talking. They're not German, but you know what I'm talking about. They
yeah,
get killed by
and he
that
just
guy, and he's like, finally.
yeah, because he just wanted to die, but they never explained that in the movies. So if you read the book, that moment makes sense, but in the movies, it makes no fucking sense. He's just depressed and wants to die, and they don't explain why. Oh, there's so much happening though. There's the baby
Yeah.
who they
Jane
just
has a brother here, right? There's Jane has a
yes, Jane
brother.
has a brother. She mourns his death. There's
But
suddenly we return to Stephenie Meyer's favorite subject, which is Native Americans are magic, because now not only are Native Americans werewolves, they're also vampires.
Oh yeah.
Um, Bella body slams a mountain lion. Let's return to the beginning, which is that the movie
Okay.
opens with Bella as a vampire, during which, yes, she body slams a mountain lion, almost kills a guy. It's
I
great.
wanted her to get a bit more junky behavior with it. It was for like 10 minutes, but I don't know. I want to see more.
She's a fanfic character. She's a self-insert. She's a I know this is not in vogue anymore, but like a Mary Sue, so to speak, in the sense that like she's like so perfect immediately. You know, she can control her hunger. Meanwhile, Jasper is like 150 years old, and he's still like tried to kill Bella multiple times. Meanwhile, Bella's got it down pat within like 20 minutes. Um, her magic power is that she makes a magic shield, which is like she's a fucking video game character.
Which
Um,
which is a mixing of metaphors, right? Because if she's been nothing but a target this entire franchise, like nothing but like the a beacon, like calling all fucking crazy vampires to them to try to kill
yeah,
them.
it's weird. It's just like this
It's
in a lot of
enjoyable as
ways.
fuck though. Like it's really
Oh, it's
like it's just
quite entertaining.
entertaining.
Don't get me wrong, this is not a clips. This is a blast to watch. It's just not a, I mean, not as fun as part one. Part one is like, as I said, a psychotic movie, and I enjoy how deranged it is. This is not deranged. This is just like eminently watchable, like enjoyable in a weird way, just because it's like built on such a bizarre foundation that even now, as it's like now kind of winded down and all the weird shit is out of the way and they forgot about it, it's still sort of there. There's everything with Jacob and the kid,
Yep.
Renesmee, which they remember they say multiple times throughout the movie, don't worry, Bella, I'm not going to fuck your daughter. I will not fuck your daughter. It's not like that. It's not a sex thing, I promise. Cut to the end of the movie, they fast forward to him holding hands and making out with her as an adult.
Yep.
It's
And you and I
Bunk
really
from the
like that
Wire
Loch
is
Ness monster line a lot.
the what line?
The Loch Ness monster line. You and I
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
one.
You nickname my daughter after the Loch Ness monster, and she
But
says
you're
that with
right. They
like,
put a little bass to Kristen Stewart's voice.
yeah, like reverb, like her voice is
Yeah,
like echoing throughout the world, her
that's
anger
what I
at
meant.
Jacob.
Yeah. It just
Oh,
sucks. I don't know if I have anything interesting to say on Breaking
me
Dawn, but
neither. Like
it's
I
just
said,
like,
this is it. It's the movie, the only movie that could be made. All
yeah,
the interesting shit like hit their conclusion. Jacob and Edward don't hate each other anymore. The questions Bella wrestles with about whether she wants to be immortal or not, gone. She's immortal now.
yeah,
Edward's like inner turmoil over being like a tortured, you know, immortal because he doesn't want to be immortal. He thinks it's grotesque. That's gone. He's good now. He's happy to be immortal for the rest of his life
hmm
because he's got a family now.
yeah. Stephenie
Um,
Meyer fulfills that Mormon promise of you will one day be a god. Uh,
everything is resolved. Yeah,
yeah,
they're gods, and all their inner turmoils about it are gone. Jacob feel no longer feels like, you know, wrestling with, you know, his predestined role as like a member of this tribe, like he can't escape his culture. That's gone. That
I think Jacob's best arc was in Breaking Dawn 1. I was still really into that.
yeah. I've realized how much I sympathize with, like, they do a good job of making Jacob like still like a foil to Edward and like Bella's
Yeah,
wishes, but he is no longer like he wants to beat women. It's not like he's actually just like, you know, he's the straight man in the
yeah.
situation at all times, which is a good role for him, I think. He fulfills that role really well here, I think. Um, you know, being the voice of, you know, practicality. You know, they're like, you can never see your dad again. He's like, well, you got to see your dad again. You know, shit like that. He strips for Charlie, and uh,
Oh yeah, yeah.
Charlie's like, why are you getting naked in front of me? And then he goes up to Bella later, and he's like, he leans into her. He's like, you're not going to turn into a dog too, are you?
I forgot. How did I forget about that scene where he brings Charlie into the woods and starts to undress himself, and Charlie's like, "Whoa, whoa, hold on."
Yeah, I love how Charlie fulfills the role of the guy who wants nothing to do with any of this dumb bullshit throughout the whole series, and it really comes to a head here. It's great. He just like implicitly accepts that his 19-year-old daughter, who got shotgun married, adopted a child in the span of like 2 weeks while off the grid from illness for like a couple months.
Man, fuck Midnight Sun from Edward's point of view. You're right. Charlie's point of view
Charlie's
is
point of view,
wild.
absolutely deranged. His daughter comes back with a child who ages twice as fast. Also, he seduces the widow of his best friend who died 6 months ago, and now they're living together.
And like presumably he deals with criminals. The bench, like
It's Forks,
he does cop work.
Washington. At it's Forks, Washington. I bet on a busy day he's like directing traffic. Like his job is not that intense. Like
And then like a boy brings him into the woods and undresses himself and turns into a werewolf.
and he still never finds out, by the way, that Bella is a vampire. This is never resolved. You don't They say she's going to stay in his life. I feel the implication is that he just knows she's involved in supernatural shit, and he'll never know what it is. He just knows that his daughter doesn't age for some
How does
reason.
he feel about his granddaughter rapidly aging? Or his daughter, yeah, his granddaughter
Yeah,
rapidly.
they give him like some aspects of the truth, but then don't bother to just give him the whole thing at that point. Like, all right, you told him werewolves exist. Why not just go the full mile at that point? Why
Yeah,
he knows
remember
they tell
Jacob
him that
leaves
it's an
Inez made
adopted
a
kid.
Charlie, and Charlie's like, whoa, she's grown like
Yeah, like
5 years.
doesn't matter. Yeah. It's
Okay, can we talk about that fucking baby? The CGI thing?
that was CGI.
I don't know. It looked pretty realistic.
No, no.
But it was I didn't know what that was from. I've seen that meme a lot too, and then
Yeah, that people
finally
making fun of the baby. It's worse than
it
like
was
the fucking
Stylist
American Sniper.
Substance's profile pic on Twitter for like a year, and I had no idea what it was ever from.
Yeah, that is what it is from. It's because I think the kid is probably like eight, like somewhere between 7 and 11 there, and they wanted to put the baby's face, her face on like a baby, so it would look like it's not just multiple different, small children. I don't know. They do it again when they age her up for the vision of her
Yeah,
and Jacob fucking in the future. It's like this 8-year-old's baby plastered on an adult woman. It's it's weird. I don't know exactly the thought process, but I respect it, I guess.
yeah. I mean, it doesn't betray how crazy Twilight has been up to this point. It's just,
Yeah,
of course, this
at
is what
this
the baby
point,
looks like.
at this point, you go to after the last four movies, you're like, yeah, sure, sure, why
Exactly.
not? Why not?
And then you're like, are you really more concerned with how the baby looks than the fact that that grown man wants to fuck it? Like, you're concerned about the wrong thing. My
And then
God.
Bunk
Um,
from The Wire makes a cameo.
yes, he does. Like,
As a
okay,
weird
his daughter or something told him to do that, or like, I'm like, what did he think he was doing there?
Oh,
Like,
he's a character actor. Makes sense. Apparently Jasper and
does
Alice have like connections in high places for some reason.
Wendell Pierce? He's great on The Wire, and I was surprised to see him here, but I'm also like, what
Why
the
are
fuck?
you
Why?
here?
Well, okay, to actually, this one I think really tried to have some POC representation where the other ones didn't. Like any case they could. Like
Yeah, I agree. It's been interesting. It's still somehow Stephenie still makes it seem weird when she brings, like the magic Native Americans back into it and stuff like that. Stephanie's always weird, but like it's not like malicious here. She's just,
yeah.
a Mormon.
I did
Um
really appreciate the end credits though. I was like, oh, I
I
like
was
that
gonna
we see
ask you
every
about that.
actor.
Yeah, it's a very sentimental ending where, every
Yeah.
actor from across the series has their, little card while the romantic music plays, while Bella and Edward now just get to live together forever. And then in text on the screen, you get a little forever. And then I'm like, man, this
Yeah,
fucking
that was
movie.
dope.
it's really endearing. It's hard not to, you know,
It's just
for a move.
challenging because like even in Breaking Dawn, in every Twilight video you and I have done, like we've been able to talk about the themes, like the ideas that Stephenie Meyer is like expressing or trying to express. And I've gone back and forth on the Stephenie Meyer person. Is she a genius? Is she just crazy? Is she both? Sometimes, most of the time, she's both. Um, but with Breaking Dawn 2, the like what are the themes of Breaking Dawn 2 though? I mean, it's just I mean, unity.
Radical conservatism, because
Yeah.
fighting for family. The end goal of existing is a family that goes on forever and never ends.
I guess so.
Bella and Edward, will the flame will never die. Their passion, their teen, remember who the audience for this is. It's 16-year-olds who are having their first boyfriend who they think they'll be with forever. And so Twilight says, yes, yes, you will be with your high school boyfriend forever. He will love you forever. And you know, you'll have a family forever. It's wish fulfillment, really. But like in a non-malicious way.
It
It's
is,
very
but like no one actually has that wish.
yeah, I don't know. I feel like teenagers do. Like they're
I
like, I
don't
hope.
think so. I don't think
It
so.
depends, I guess. I don't know.
Like the thing that does resonate with teenagers is like, and they didn't even Stephenie Meyer didn't even engage with it, like truthfully, or fully. Like, was the idea of the love triangle of like picking two different types of futures, but
Yeah.
Stephenie Meyer set it up as like even in the film version, like Jacob isn't even like really doesn't have a chance because
Yeah. It's clear he will never be
I
picked
think
over
that
Edward.
temptation and impulsivity is like really like part of the ethos of the American teenage girl.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how many of them outside of
Maybe,
Utah want to be celibate until they're married.
well, not the celibacy part. Maybe I'm thinking also mostly of like 13-year-olds who like are like, preteens, just people who like have, you know, not world weary enough yet, haven't, you
Mm.
know,
But you
pe-
would think that like that's the craziest thing because you can say like J.K. Rowling, you can say her books. I don't like Harry Potter, but you can say that like the books got more maturely written. Like the books grew up with the people who read them.
mhm.
Um, did not for Twilight. Like it
No,
was written for 13-year-olds when it started, and it was written for 13-year-olds when it ended. Not those same 13-year-olds who were 17 at that point. Like
no, it's the first book ends with Bella saying, "Never leave me. We'll be together forever." Guess how it ends?
and it never shifts its ethos. Like it never changes course. Like it's just
No. That's
yeah,
why I say, like, this is the only movie Breaking Dawn Part 2 could have been
yeah.
after the preceding four movies, and especially Part 1 and Eclipse. Like, what other movie could have been made? What other conclusion could we have received? There is no other conclusion. This is the only conclusion for Twilight. This is from the first movie. This is the only way it could have ended, is family forever. They get their happily ever after, happy ever after. It's weird
I mean,
because
it's good.
you were shocked by Twilight, like the first one, because you were like,
Yeah,
where's the cynicism? I'm like, here you go. Like, it never happens.
yeah.
Never
Um,
happens. Never.
how do you
No.
deal with gothic elements like this and not have any cynicism or a brief foray into nihilism with it? Like there was
It's
suicidal ideations, but it was different. It was in a fucking Stephenie Meyer way of that's the only way I can see my boyfriend's ghost or image.
and for the record, it's even at the point of like deliberately ignoring shit. Like the fact that like most of the people that are on the good guy team in this movie are literal murderers. Like remember, like the
Mhm.
Cullens are the only ones that don't kill people. Like
Yeah,
like they introduce some of the good guys killing innocent people. Like they find the one guy in an alley killing a dude, as I recall. and
Yeah.
they like they're like it's all right. Some of the vampires they just kill people. It's okay.
Oh, some of it
Aro
was
gets
like really crossing the line, like into too syrupy sweet, where like they all sit around and talk about war stories from like
yeah
centuries, and it's like,
yeah he
oh
says he almost killed Custer.
yeah, oh, okay. But I mean, shit, I don't
Like
know what to talk about.
me neither, because like again the none of the series long character arcs continue here. No
No.
returning, like very few returning characters outside of the Cullens.
Hell, the only arc that continues is Charlie's.
Exactly. Charlie's like the one weird point of conflict, but then that's resolved pretty quickly in a non-resolution, which is that they're like, well, the natural what you would naturally think is that Bella has two choices here. Is that she either cuts herself off from her family forever and they just assume she's dead, which is a common thing I think in like vampire, like young adult vampire. I think that was like the Cirque du Freak thing, right? Is that like the kid has to
Yeah.
fake his own death and his family thinks he's dead, and that's why he gets to get away with this. And this that doesn't happen, and like the other option being that she like tells them the truth. This she's like, no, I'm just not going to tell them the truth. And they're like, okay, then what do you do? And she says, well, I'll just keep hanging out with them. And it's like, Bella, they're going to notice that it's been like 40 years and you're still 19. And she's like, they know something's up, but they won't ask questions. And it's like, that's not a resolution, Bella. That's like, and they do this for all of them. Like every conflict, they just give like a non-committal resolution. Charlie sort of just rolls with it, but he doesn't like get any
Yeah.
resolution. The even like the main conflict, like you're like, all right, the Volturi, they're a threat. They've been a threat in all the books. They're pretty iffy. We don't like them. Most of these other vampires don't like them. They seem kind of authoritarian. Something's gonna happen. Then they just go home.
Yeah.
The, the Volturi, yeah, they still exist. They're still killing tourists in Italy. They're just gonna maybe hold off. And then the one guy says, they're gonna come back for you, and they're like, they might. Or no, specifically the Klaus Kinski looking motherfucker says, they're still evil, dude. Like they're gonna come back.
Yeah.
And then in response, everyone does their like they just smile and hug. They ignore them. Like
God,
nothing
I
is
love
resolved.
those two kids because they're like, we could finally like kill the most evil authoritarians in like our species history. This is gonna be great.
They've
We've been
waited
waiting for this day.
1,500 years, they say. 1,500 years to do this.
They get fucked over so bad.
No conclusion. No, it's almost anticlimactic, which is I think like a common criticism I imagine of this movie. But like I also it's very conclusive. It's just conclusive in its inconclusiveness. It's
No,
the fact
that's
that it makes a conclusion out of not resolving anything but making it seem like a resolution.
no, that's
Because it
exactly
says
right.
like the wider machinations of vampire politics don't really matter. What really matters is does Bella and her boyfriend get to be together forever? Um, it's weird. It's the purity is palpable. It's and again, for the record, this was in its original form a book, one with Breaking Dawn Part One. So like realistically, we should probably look at it as like one cohesive thing, but it's not as a movie. The
No,
books were. So the books maybe for Stephenie Meyer Land, Stephenie Meyer, this is a more conclusive thing because it encompasses everything. It encompasses resolving Bella and Edward's relationship. Whether or not she becomes immortal, all of that is resolved in one big happy package. That's not what happens with the movies, though. That's the penultimate movie that's all resolved.
yes.
So the last movie has nothing to work with because, like,
And I was like, through doing these videos about Twilight, I read New Moon and Eclipse. I didn't read Breaking Dawn, so I had no idea what the fuck happened there.
um,
But I'm not
I think
compelled to like I was with Eclipse. I was compelled to with Eclipse because I'm like, I know there's something more there that just wasn't available for me in the film, I guess. But
all I know about the
Breaking
book
Dawn
is
1 has a lot of heavy lifting. It said a lot of things. We talked about it for over an hour. Like about the themes and the plot and the characters. I can't do
yeah.
that here.
I do know the book gets a little friskier with the it details, as I recall, it does a lot of detail about like the aftermath of their violent vampire sex, or their violent like human Bella and vampire Edward sex, and she's like covered in bruises and shit. Um, and that's about it. It shifts perspectives. The whole middle of the book takes place from Jacob's POV. I forget who else. I think there's a third POV. Um,
Like, I don't even remember Rosalie in this movie.
I
Weirdly,
thought she was pretty nice in this
what
because she's
what did she do in this? I forget.
she
Because I
coddles the
watched it.
baby. She coddles the baby for
Okay,
like basically every single scene. She coddles the baby.
and yet that's still something that was resolved in the first movie. She was
Yeah, yeah. She wants to be a mother. She always wanted to be a mother, and she wanted to have a family, and she's not allowed to have any of that because she's a vampire. So now she
yeah.
does. She gets to coddle the baby, and there's no conflict or antagonism. She's like Bella's line of defense instead of Alice this time, which is interesting, I guess.
Well, yeah, it's a baby for like a fucking month or something, or 2 days.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. She will sort of be immortal, indefinitely immortal. She might die someday, but we don't really know. She'll live at least a couple hundred years, but anything beyond that, it's unclear. Um, Jacob sort of lives forever. Um,
Yeah, which I didn't like. I wanted the
they
werewolves not to be immortal.
do they? I forget. Do they explain
No, no,
that in the
no.
movies?
They do live forever in the movies, but like normally a werewolf isn't like immortal. Like,
Oh, I think what they say is that like changing often and spending a lot of time as a wolf prolongs their lifespan. So if like Jacob just stopped changing into a wolf forever and he just cut himself off, he would like age and die normally. But if he keeps like
right.
regularly, transforming into a wolf, it prolongs his lifespan like indefinitely. So he can continue fucking the baby forever. Um
I always appreciated like Stephenie Meyer. I thought she was using the werewolf as some sort of metaphor for maturity, for aging, like the unexpected kind of hostility of aging, like compared to Edward never aging. But apparently that's not it, because every
yeah.
time the wolf transforms, it prolongs uh its youthful beauty.
Yep. Yeah, Taylor Lautner can, be preyed upon by journalists while a minor for the rest of his life.
Mm-hmm.
Um, no,
If I could say, like, I don't want all these Twilight videos to end on like a sour, a bitter note. If there's something I can say is that Stephenie Meyer is consistently like fascinating. Like even now, like grappling with Breaking Dawn 2, it's still a frustrating thing to do. It's still like difficult
yeah,
to completely grapple with. But if I could, the most positive thing about the films is definitely I like the attitude and the vibe of most of them, but I mean Kristen Stewart kills it every time.
oh
Great.
yeah, she's wonderful. Like I said, she's the Sigourney Weaver of our series. She is,
Hmm.
the connective thread more than Pattinson, more than Lautner, more than anyone
Yeah, I
else.
said it
It's
on the
and
last
this is
video. I feel like Pattinson is too obviously like thinks what he's doing is stupid in Twilight, and
yeah.
Faulkner has no idea. He's oblivious to how stupid the shit he's doing is. But Kristen Stewart's like right in the middle. Like she knows what she's doing is hammy, but she also knows there's integrity and sincerity to it, so she'll approach
She,
it.
lest I repeat, she body slams a mountain lion in this movie,
But she's committed. Like that's good shit.
and she has violent vampire sex with Edward. You get your Shakespeare references again. Have a field day with that one. I don't know how to read it, but I'm sure you do.
Remind me.
I forget which book. It's because Alice knows that Bella's mind cannot be read by Edward or Aro or anyone else. And so
Oh,
she leaves a note on a page of, I think, Midsummer Night's Dream. I might be wrong. It's either Midsummer Night's Dream or Much Ado About Nothing. I think it's Midsummer Night's Dream. on like the page from the book, and then Bella finds the original book that Alice ripped it out of, where she put more info on where to go, that she only wants Bella to know for some reason. That's what leads her to Bug.
I
I don't
remember
know.
now.
I don't know what other role Shakespeare plays here, because this is not a very high concept movie. This is the I think last time I called this the Harry Potter movie of the series.
No, it is. It is.
It's the one where the conflicts are resolved in that, or the thematic conflicts are resolved. The like internal character conflicts are resolved, but the narrative conflicts on like a very literal level are not resolved. So like Bella has reached the end of her arc, Edward has reached the end of his arc, everyone has reached the end of their arc, but the actual story is not resolved in like a very, like people who are like, I only care about the story, not the ideas. Like it's the story is bad, so on and so forth. People like that. That's what this feels like. It's like they just made it
Yeah.
because they literally had to, because
Hey,
otherwise
it's kind of
the
like why we're making this YouTube video.
yeah, because otherwise Breaking Dawn Part 1, if that was the end, what do you get? You're like, I guess the Volturi just aren't part of this anymore. They were there for
Yeah.
the one movie. Bella's has a kid now, but I don't know anything about the kid. I don't know if it's gonna die at 20 or something. Like it's unclear. So there's too many questions on like a literal narrative, lore level, but like the actual ideas have all been resolved. So it's just kind of, coming to work, doing the job, and going home. That's Breaking Dawn Part 2.
Just
It's
adds to the
weird.
confusion I've always had with like these movies and their narrative, like the mechanisms that make the narrative work, because it never makes the narrative actually work, but it still works. It's so fucking, like you just said, all the arcs are done, but the arcs finished before the story did. That's not supposed to happen, Stephenie.
Yeah. Well, that's Stephenie
Like,
for you.
yeah, that's the shit that like that really makes me question stuff. But
Question your previous readings.
yeah, yeah. Well, New Moon was so weird because, like like you've said, and the ricochet kind of narrative satisfaction. It's definitely not the way that story's supposed to logically go ever. Like,
I mean, I guess we still have the conclusion though, like the whole Alice thing, which I do think is conceptually interesting in its own whack job way.
I had
That
no fucking clue. I was shocked.
I was so excited for you to get there.
I was shocked. Oh my god, that was thrilling. I was like,
That
what the fuck? I
it
love
was
this
all
movie. It's
fake.
great. But now I'm here and I have nothing to say. But in the moment, I was
Yeah,
like, this is amazing.
the whole finale to your 5-part series concludes in a imaginary hypothetical vision created by one of the characters.
Yeah. Oh, I could not believe my eyes. It was wild because like
Everyone dies.
the fight itself was like, once again, Bill Condon, who directed the Breaking Dawn. It looks fine. It's a good looking movie. And that battle was like pretty engaging. A lot of deaths I didn't see coming. A lot of like pretty like kind of
And you know
brutal
why.
shit.
It's because it's the Harry Potter thing. Although, did this come out after Deathly Hallows Part 2? If it did, I do think it kind of rips from that a bit in that,
Mm-hmm.
that was the whole
I
premise
agree.
of that, is that it's shocking, who dies and such, it's not expected. But then this is like, whoa, they don't
Right.
die.
Right.
They, Fred Weasley, what if he didn't?
I never saw Deathly, whatever. But
Uh,
some
Basically,
blew
like
my.
tons of characters die.
Yeah, I think I know that one of the like. Oh, Harry
Oh,
Potter
like
less.
30
Yeah,
characters die. Every character dies. Characters you haven't seen in 6 books come back just to die. Uh, the kid in Chamber of Secrets, the second book, the little like
yeah.
bright-eyed kid that takes photographs and they save his life in the second book, he dies. Teachers from
It,
throughout the series die. Everyone dies, and it's like a whole ordeal. But magical Stephenie Meyer Land, they all live. Well, one doesn't.
because
There is
once
one death.
again, there's never any consequences to anything.
Correct. Yes. Yes.
So what do I get? Ah, if you had what do you have to say about Twilight that you haven't said yet? Like, what do you think of the series overall?
Endlessly perplexing.
Yeah.
Um, a point of obsession for me that I would gladly watch all five movies again anytime. I love this. The I still my favorite is still a toss up between the first and New Moon. I just I like how fucking weird the first one is, and I like the the same kind of antagonisms you identified for New Moon. New Moon is amazing. Um, I love
New Moon is
breaking down.
legitimately fantastic film.
Yeah, yeah, and them breaking down part one is the cocaine movie of the series,
Yeah.
the the deranged movie of the series. I even like Eclipse, which I don't really like, I would watch again anytime.
Yeah.
It's so weird. Twilight just has this like and this endlessly infinitely watchable quality. I would
Hmm.
gladly come back to it anytime. I love it. It's so comforting for some reason. I don't know why. It's
Well,
because
I'm
it's not
happy
that
you
it's not
got to.
antagonistic. That's
No,
not
it's
it.
not.
Clearly it's antagonistic. Like the whole second movie is about suicide. The fourth one has a devil baby that eats you from the inside out like fucking Rosemary's Baby. It's like clearly this is deranged, but at the same time, I'm
Yeah.
perfectly comfortable watching this on like a Sunday afternoon on TV on basic cable. It's like
Because there's
it
never any consequence to these things. Maybe like derangement comes from the consequence of it. Maybe
yeah,
something's only deranged by the effect that it has, and if like you trying to kill yourself a bunch of time doesn't have any effect, then what the fuck?
I don't know. It's like there's not even really like there's vague like fetishistic qualities throughout the series, and of course I love that.
Yeah.
They're not really here in the last one. Um unless you count its conservatism as fetishistic.
Well,
It
yeah. I mean,
fetishizes the
you
family
and I
unit.
have said like it like in the mid 2000s, maybe like the nuclear family and like eternal wholesome happiness is seen as like fetish, like you can fetishize that because it's like not as like prevalent anymore or something. I don't know.
Yeah. It's again like and I when I say like violently conservative, I say that as like a point of fascination, you
Yeah.
know? Like
Yeah.
I almost admire it. I do admire it. It's bizarre. Like as someone who doesn't, who's deeply suspicious of the family unit and for obvious reasons. And a lot of art I like gravitates to criticizing the family unit. Um I I I'm perplexed that someone who I have to imagine is as privy as I am to the reality of life, which is that like, you know, families don't really work like that. A person who is very aware of that still makes the audacity to like know that and still make Twilight and still make a movie that ends with forever. The final frame, forever, forever. You know, the words from the literal book, you see the literal book and the words from the book glow on the screen and say forever. Bella gets her husband forever. It's like the fucking audacity. The audacity. It's like I admire it. I really do. I do. It's like it's not even like the same as like I've while you have become like a Stephenie Meyer auteurist, my year has been becoming a um starting to become a Lindelof auteurist because I watched
Oh my
and fell
god.
in love. I fell in love with The Leftovers and I became obsessed with it. It's like one of my favorite things I've ever watched in my life. And like the central conflict of the show is that a man like this guy wants wants to want a family, wants to want a stable, happy, family life, normal, happy, comfortable, non-ridiculous existence. But then he keeps creating the conditions for himself where it destroys that because he's self-destructive. And so he's like wrestling with that, how he wants that. And it presents that as a part. Twilight kind of does that, but it's not as antagonistic because it's like, no, there's no one here that doesn't want that. They all want it. They all want a family. No one's even seeking to destroy the family. Aro's not trying to
Yeah.
destroy the family. He's just vaguely just causing trouble like a little trickster man. But like no one here is like positing that there might be something wrong with wanting that, or like there's no threat to that. None of the dangers are that. The only threats are like Bella's, purity and her happiness, and whether or not the kinds of family she wants are like compatible, because there's like two different kinds of family at play. But there's no anti-family position here in the series at any point.
No,
At any point. It's
no.
it's weird. Jacob just is an alternate family for, an alternate
Yeah.
possible family. It's weird.
Same with
I don't
James and Victoria and
exactly.
Laurent.
The idea that someone would think, it's Stephenie Meyer cannot conceive of it.
Well,
There's
you
no
could say
person here.
at least Victoria and like Riley and the newborns is a bastardization and weaponization of a family.
Yeah,
That's the closest Stephanie would get to criticizing any kind of family.
I would also actually, I didn't think of it until just now. But the one dude we talked about who doesn't do anything in this movie is like,
Yeah.
I don't want to fucking work with anyone. I'm a loner. I'm all,
And he stays that way.
and he's never really a tangible threat to that order, or like a tangible, I shouldn't say threat, but like antagonism, a destabilizing influence. He's never that. It's
He doesn't change. Why was he even there? He leaves. A
it's
loner.
we're like Edward. This series is like Edward. It just doesn't age. It doesn't change. It doesn't.
Yes, it's in
Ed,
stasis.
it's in a perfect, immaculate stasis forever.
Oh, that's a good place to end it, Jacob.
Okay, want me to?
You want to say anything else about Twilight? It's the last chance.
Um, I like the music video. I like that our 5-part movie ends with a music video.
Yeah, I did like it. Uh, And it's so
And
weird because the first movie looks like a music video, but the music video part of the ending of the series, I don't know. It's just like,
oh, by the way, I mentioned the part where Charlie says to Bella, "You don't turn into an animal too, do you?" And I forgot to mention, I wrote this down, to which Jacob interjects, "She wishes she was that awesome."
yeah. Oh my God.
It's a fan service movie. That's this movie. It's a fan
No.
service movie.
Yeah, yeah, for real.
That's all it
But
is.
that's why I don't have much to say about it. I
But God
I
bless
just felt like
Stephenie
you
Meyer.
and I, we've done all the Twilight movies. Wouldn't make sense not to do the last one. And when I said we have to do the last one, I hadn't seen the last one. When I said that, I didn't know there was
I
another
had a
one.
suspicion. I was hoping you would, because you were able to read much more into New Moon, more coherently into New Moon than I was. So I was like, surely Zach will come in with some thesis, some like, this is you will say, no, Jacob, this is actually referencing James Joyce, and this is why. And like, I was hoping you would have something for me, but no. Again, this isn't really a problem. Again, like if the conflicts have all been resolved, then what's the harm? There's no
Yeah,
harm
no, I
here.
don't hate the movie. I got nothing. I got
It
nothing.
exists purely to be experienced and not thought about, but like in a really endearing way. It's nice.
It's talking about things that must be thought about, but there's nothing to think about. It fucks with me.
Yeah, that inconclusiveness means you're about to like post like a 40-minute continued thoughts where you realize like it clicked with you suddenly at 1 a.m. in the morning. I awoke with a start, and it's suddenly all made sense.
That's my style, but the title of this video is probably the last Twilight video, so gotta
The
stand
last
by it.
Twilight video, part 2.
Oh yeah, I'll put part 1 next to it in a month when I feel like it. No, I got nothing for Breaking Dawn part 2,
Well, God bless Stephenie Meyer.
of course.
Bless Stephenie Meyer.